Good morning, children. No energy at all. Good morning.
Good morning.
We learned about pollen pistil interaction in our previous class. And there we learned that only if compatible pollen falls on the stigma, it will germinate, forms a pollen tube, leading to fertilization. And if the pollen grains are incompatible, those pollen grains will be rejected by the stigma, not permitting them to germinate or form pollen tube. But if a plant breeder wants, even he can alter this pollen pistil interaction, and even incompatible pollen grains can be made to germinate. So artificially this can be carried out by a plant breeder for getting desired hybrid varieties that combine the qualities of the plants involved. Sometimes you want to combine the desirable qualities of two different plants. Maybe they are belonging to different genera or species. By means of artificial hybridization, this can be carried out. The fertilization, pollination as well as fertilization can be carried out, and we'll get, or the plant breeder will be able to get hybrids that combine the desirable qualities of both the parents. So today we are going to learn in detail about artificial hybridization and the different steps involved in it. Artificial hybridization is a crop improvement program. It will help in improving the variety or the qualities of the crop, in which desired pollen grains are used for pollination and the stigma is prevented from contamination. So we select, the plant breeder will decide which pollen grains of which flower to be dusted on the stigma. And till these pollen grains are dusted on the stigma will be kept covered to prevent it from getting contaminated. Contaminated is mentioned in the sense that it will be protected from unwanted pollen. If the stigma is kept exposed, it can trap the pollen grains. So the pollen grains from the other plants or other flowers can land on the stigma, leading to fertilization. So long as we dust the desired pollen grains on the stigma will be kept covered to prevent it from getting contaminated by undesired or unwanted pollen. A cross can be made between different genera or different species. So this can also be carried out under normal conditions. Pollen belonging to different genera or species, they may not be able to germinate on the stigma due to incompatibility. But in artificial hybridization, we can artificially make them germinate or carry out pollination and fertilization. And in this way, you can make a cross even between different species or genera of plants so as to get superior varieties, commercially superior varieties, which will combine the desired characteristics of both the parents. And this is achieved by the following techniques: emasculation and bagging. You can see in the picture, emasculation, dusting of pollen grains, bagging. So all these processes we will learn in detail. To begin with, the first step, emasculation. Emasculation is essential, or it has to be carried out in the case of bisexual flowers. In unisexual flowers, this step can be skipped or avoided, because in unisexual flowers, either male or female reproductive parts only will be present. So there is no need for removing anthers from the flower. But in the case of bisexual flower, where both anthers or where both stamen and stigma are present, we need to remove the anthers from that flower, which is going to be considered as a female parent. So we will take one plant as female and the other plant as male parent. So when you take a female parent, from the bisexual flowers of that plant or that flower, we need to remove the anther, so that it will have only the male reproductive part or pistil, and before it dehisces, it has to be removed. Otherwise, what will happen? Anther will dehisce, and these pollen grains can land on the stigma, leading to self-pollination. So we won't be able to dust it with the desired pollen grain, and thereby we won't be able to get any hybrid varieties which combine the desirable qualities of two different plants. So the first step to be carried out is emasculation. Emasculation is the process of removal of anthers from a bisexual flower. As I told you, it's not necessary, or this step can be skipped in the case of unisexual flowers, because it's not having both the reproductive structures. Either stamen or pistil only will be present in unisexual flowers. So there is no point of removing this anthers from the flower. But in case of bisexual flower, to prevent self-pollination, we need to remove the anthers before it dehisces. Next is bagging. Now we have removed the anthers. Now that plant will be having only stigma. And we need to cover the emasculated flowers with a suitable bag. It can be made out of butter paper in order to prevent contamination of the stigma. Take the case of a bisexual flower from where we have removed the anthers. And we want to dust, the plant breeder is waiting to dust the pollen grains on the desired pollen grains on the stigma. But if this stigma, after removing the anthers, we are leaving it exposed. We are just leaving it as such without covering it. What can happen? There are chances that unwanted pollen from other flowers can fall on the stigma, resulting in fertilization. So in order to prevent it, as soon as the anthers are removed, we will cover the flower so that the stigma can be protected from unwanted pollen. You call the process as bagging. We cover it with a bag, preferably made out of butter paper. And here in the figure, you can see using forceps, there are different ways by means of which you can remove the anther. So here in the picture, what you see is using forceps, anther is being removed. When the stigma attains receptivity, so the stigma is within the butter paper bag. And when the stigma attains receptivity, what the plant breeder will do? He will take mature pollen grains from the anthers of the male parent. So that male parent will be having the desired characteristics. So plant breeder will select already the male and female parent. From female parent, from those flowers, he is removed off the anther. Then from the flower which is selected as the male parent, he will collect the pollen and he will dust it on the stigma when stigma attains receptivity. And immediately after dusting the desired pollen grains, he will cover it with a bag again. Rebagging will be done and it will be allowed to form fruits, because once pollination has taken place, it can lead to fertilization, resulting in the formation of fruits and seeds. Then it will be, after rebagging, it will be kept as such for the formation of fruits. For unisexual flowers, there is no need for emasculation, but female flower buds are bagged before the flowers open. So in unisexual flowers, only one of the reproductive structures will be present. So there is no point of removing the anthers, but definitely even before the flowers open, the stigma will be kept covered so that pollen from other flowers will not fall on this particular stigma. And if it is a bisexual flower, first we will remove the anthers. And after removing the anthers, we will cover the stigma of the flower with a bag made out of butter paper. And we call this process as bagging. And then we will wait, the plant breeder will wait till the stigma attains receptivity. When the stigma becomes matured and attains receptivity, the plant breeder will collect mature pollen grains from the male parent, and he will remove the bag, dust it on the stigma, and immediately after that he will rebag it, because even after pollination or even after dusting the pollen, he should not leave it open and permit other pollen to land on them. So he'll keep it covered and then allow it to form fruits. When the stigma becomes, that is in case of unisexual flowers, as I told you, no need of emasculation, but the stigma, the female flower will be kept covered, or it will be bagged before the flowers open. And the same process, when the stigma is attaining receptivity, this bag will be removed, pollen grains will be dusted, and then it will be kept covered and it will be allowed to form fruits and seeds. Okay. And these are the different steps involved in artificial hybridization. So here you can see in the figure, the first step, first two figures, removal of pollen, then dusting of pollen grains on the stigma, and then it is being covered with butter paper bags. And one more step will be carried out, tagging. A tag or a name card along with all the details of the flowers, the date when it was done, and which are the male and female flowers, with all the details. A tag also will be kept attached to the plant. So emasculation, bagging and tagging. So once the bag is kept covered and permitted, and the flowers will be permitted to form fruits, but a tag also will be attached so that the plant breeder, for example, when he is doing the process for so many plants at a time, so in order to distinguish them, in order to know all the details, the date at which the pollens were dusted, from which flower it was taken, for to know all the details, a tag will be kept, and you call the processes tagging. So with that, we have completed artificial hybridization. We can have a quick recap. Artificial hybridization, it's a crop improvement program in which the desired pollen grains will be used for pollination, and the stigma will be kept covered to prevent it from getting contaminated. And by means of artificial hybridization, we can make a cross between plants belonging to different species or different genera, so that we can combine the desired characteristics of two different plants to get commercially superior varieties. And the steps involved in artificial hybridization are emasculation and bagging. Emasculation means the removal of anthers from a bisexual flower before the anther dehisces, and then once the anthers are removed, the flower will be kept covered so that it won't be, the stigma will not get contaminated by unwanted pollen grains. And the breeder will wait, the plant breeder will wait till the stigma attains receptivity. At that stage, he will collect matured pollen grains from the male parent and will be dusted on the stigma of the female flower, and then he will bag it again. It was kept covered, it was bagged. This bag will be removed, pollen will be dusted, again it will be rebagged, and it will be allowed to form fruits and seeds. And in case of unisexual flowers, it's not necessary to carry out emasculation, because it will have only one of the reproductive structures. In such case, female flowers, because as I told you, in unisexual flowers, female and male flowers will be different. So in the case of female flowers, before it opens, it will be covered with a bag to prevent the stigma from getting contaminated by unwanted pollen. And same as in the case of bisexual flowers, when the stigma attains receptivity, matured pollen grains will be collected from the desired male parent, and it will be dusted on the stigma, and it will be rebagged again, and a tag also will be attached with all the necessary details, and you call the process as tagging. I think it's not mentioned in your textbook, but you will learn in practicals. Is it clear? Any term or any point to be repeated, children?
And can you explain why it has to be rebagged again?
A little louder.
Could you explain why it has to be rebagged again?
Rebagged. See, we have dusted it with pollen grains. Okay. And still there can be chances that pollen from other flowers can fall on it. Okay. As soon as the pollen, we have dusted the pollen, it takes some time for the pollen to germinate. So by the time, if the pollen grains from some other flower, unwanted pollen falls on that, there are chances that in that competition, the other pollen might win and it will germinate and pollen tube will be formed and its male gametes can fuse with the egg cell. So in order to avoid risk, or they don't want to take any chances, so it will be rebagged again so that no chance of other pollen to land on the stigma. Okay, Nandana?
Okay, ma'am.
Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, before we proceed to double fertilization, a quick recap of what we covered. Mehak, I remember I had told you that you have to come prepared for summarizing the previous day's topic. I have not forgotten. But for the time being, you tell me about what we covered now. What was the topic, Mehak?
Artificial pollination.
Artificial hybridization. What is artificial hybridization?
When the farmer wants a specific type of characteristics in the plants, so they hybridize the superior qualities.
A little louder. The first point, what did we learn?
They take the superior qualities of specific plants and then they hybridize.
How do you take superior qualities? What is the mechanism done? What is the process done? Naureen, I'll come back to you, Mehak.
It is a crop improvement
It's a
program
crop improvement program in which
the desired pollen grains are used for pollination, and the stigma is also protected from contamination.
yes. So when a definition is asked or when an explanation like one word answer or one line answer, so you don't substitute it with some other words because substitute with some other sentences because maybe it is a related point, but it won't correctly justify that statement or explanation. So Mehak, can you repeat that point once again? It's a
Crop improvement program.
Crop improvement program where
We choose the desired pollen grains and pollinate with the stigma.
in which the desired pollen grains are used for pollination, and at the same time, what we do with the stigma? Stigma is protected from contamination. You have to be a little more attentive. Evelyn, continue.
A cross is made between the relative genera or species to form the desirable variations or varieties.
A cross can be made between or by means of artificial hybridization. We can cross plants belonging to two different genera or species so that we'll get the desired qualities of both the parents, resulting in commercially, Evelyn,
commercially superior varieties.
Commercially superior varieties or hybrids. Which are the two steps involved, Michael? Which are the two main steps involved?
Emasculation and bagging.
Bagging. What is meant by emasculation, Nandana?
Removal of the anther from a bisexual flower before the anther dihystesis.
Okay, then what is to be done next? Once the anthers are removed, what is the next step, Gayatri?
Bagging must be done, in which the flower is covered with, the flower, it is covered with the polythene bag.
What for? What for?
So that unwanted pollens won't come.
Okay. And if it is a unisexual flower, what are the steps to be carried out, Malavika?
There is no need of emasculation. Female flower buds are bagged before the flowers open.
Before the flower open, it will be bagged. And then Nidhi, after bagging, what is the next step? Nidhi, Steffi?
Yes, ma'am.
Now it is bagged. Flower is bagged. What is next? In both unisexual and bisexual flowers, the step is same.
When the stigma is becomes receptive, pollination is carried out by using desired pollen and rebagging.
And it will be rebagged. The rebagging is also done with the purpose of avoiding or preventing contamination by unwanted pollen. And next, we are going to learn about double fertilization. You know that in plants, in sexually reproducing plants, you know, flower is the reproductive part of a plant, and their double fertilization takes place. In class 10, you might have learned about double fertilization. So let's see the details. And once I complete, be very attentive. Definitely you people will get question. Okay. And those who have got a chance already, they can again get. It depends who is going to get. Be very attentive. If you have short-term memory, you can write down notes. Otherwise also, you can write down the notes so that your attention can be maintained. Because when you keep on writing the notes, you don't get distracted. Chances are less to get distracted. So here you can see the picture of pistil with stigma, style, ovary, ovule. And here you can see okay. Here you can see a pollen grain has landed on the stigma, and here you can see it's getting germinated and forming a pollen tube and inside the pollen. So when this is happening, when the pollen tube germinates and forms a pollen tube, the contents of pollen grain will be transferred to the pollen tube. So here you can see two sperms, two male gametes. And these male gametes will move through the pollen tube and enters through the micropylar end. Enters the ovule through the micropylar end, guided by the synergids. First, they will be entering the synergids, and from the synergids, they'll move to one male gamete will move to the egg cell, and the other male gamete will move towards the polar nuclei. And one male gamete will fuse with the egg and they will form the zygote. The male and female gametes will join together to form the zygote. Whereas one male gamete, the second male gamete is fusing with the two polar nuclei and they result in the formation of PEN, primary endosperm nucleus. I'll repeat it once again. Once the pollen, you know that each pollen grain consists of two male gametes. Pollen lands on the stigma, it will germinate, and once the pollen tube is formed, the contents of the pollen will be transferred to the tube. And the tube will slowly grow. It grows towards the micropylar end. Through the stigma, style reaches ovary, enters the ovule through the micropylar end, and its entry is guided by, or the pollen tube is guided by the filiform apparatus, some special cellular thickenings present on cells known as synergids. They'll be entering the synergids, and from the synergids, one male gamete. So these are the synergids. On either side of the egg cell, egg is in the center. This one is the egg cell, the other two are synergids, and one male gamete will fuse with the egg. The other one will move towards the two polar nuclei in the center. And the fusion of one male gamete with the egg or female gamete results in the formation of a zygote. You have written here it is 2n. 2n means diploid, paired condition of chromosome. Male gamete is haploid N. Male gamete is N. Female gamete is also N. You know that in gametes, the chromosomes will be in the unpaired condition. And in zygote, it will be 2n. Diploid condition, chromosomes will be in the paired condition. And the second fusion is the male gamete with the two polar nuclei. So the male gamete, two polar nuclei. Each polar nuclei also will be in the haploid condition, and what you get is PEN, PEN, primary endosperm nucleus, which is in the triploid condition. Hope you understood why it is triploid. Because the male gamete is fusing with two polar nuclei. 3 cells are involved, or 3 nuclei, 3 sets of chromosomes are involved. So you call it as triploid condition or triploid. And once again, I will repeat. As you know, for each pollen grain, each pollen grain has got 2 male gametes. 2 male gametes are there in each pollen grain. And one male gamete will fuse with the egg or the female gamete. And this process you can call it as syngamy, fertilization. You have learned the process of fusion of male gamete with the female gamete to form a zygote is known as fertilization, or else you call it as syngamy. And just like in any other case, any other fertilization, it results in the formation of a zygote, and you call this process as syngamy. So syngamy takes place. That is fusion of male and female gamete to form a zygote. So this is the first fusion. And the second one male gamete, 2 male gametes are there. The second male gamete will fuse with 2 polar nuclei. You already learned that these polar nuclei, they don't have a cell wall covering, just the nuclei. So it will combine with the 2 polar nuclei in the center, and it forms PEN. PEN means primary endosperm nucleus. Primary endosperm nucleus, which will later develop into endosperm. Endosperm is a structure which will help in nourishing the growing embryo. So it will form PEN, and here we call the process as syngamy. The first fusion or the first fusion of male gamete with the female gamete, you call it as syngamy. But here we are going to name it as triple fusion, because 3 sets of nuclei or 3 sets of chromosome are fusing over here. 1 male gamete and 2 polar nuclei. So we call it as triple fusion, which will result in the formation of PEN, primary endosperm nucleus, and the whole process you call it as double fertilization. Why? Because 2 fusions are taking place. One is syngamy, resulting in the formation of zygote, and second one is triple fusion, resulting in the formation of primary endosperm nucleus. And since 2 fusions are involved, you call it as double fertilization. So I'll repeat the points once again. After entering the synergids, the pollen tube releases the 2 male gametes into the cytoplasm of the synergids. Okay. So you know that the point of entry is micropylar region. through there, with the help of filiform apparatus, the pollen tube will enter the synergids. Once it has entered the synergid, the male gametes, the two male gametes present in the pollen tube will be transferred to the cytoplasm of synergids. Now, from there, from the cytoplasm of the synergids, one male gamete will move towards the egg cell. And this male gamete, an egg cell is a female gamete. It will fuse, and the process is known as the nuclei of the male gamete and the egg cell will fuse. You call the process as syngamy, and this forms zygote, which is diploid. Diploid means all gametes, including human beings, the gametes are haploid. We represent it with N, means the chromosomes. You have learned that in our body, all the cells, the nuclei has got 23 pairs of chromosomes or 46 chromosomes. But eggs and sperms produce, the gametes will have only 23. All the other cells, 46. So that 23, that unpaired condition, all the other cells, 23 pairs or 46, but in the gametes, just 23. So such a condition where the chromosomes are unpaired, you call it as haploid and you represent it with N. And when it is in the diploid or the paired condition, just like in our body cells, you call it as 2N. That is diploid condition. Okay, so zygote is diploid because here male and female gametes, the nuclei is fusing, resulting in the formation of a zygote. So zygote is diploid. The other male gamete, so one male gamete fused with the egg cell and formed a zygote, whereas the other male gamete moves towards the two polar nuclei, which is situated in the central cell. As you can see, it is present in the central cell and fuses with them to form a triploid primary endosperm nucleus, PEN, primary endosperm nucleus. Zygote is diploid, but PEN is triploid because 3 sets of chromosomes are combining here. One male gamete, 2 polar nuclei. So it is triploid. 3 sets of chromosomes are found as it involves the fusion of 3 haploid nuclei. We call it as triple fusion, and the whole process you call it as double fertilization because it involves 2 fusions, triple fusion and syngamy. Is that clear, children? Any doubts? I'll repeat again. You want me to repeat it again?
The triple fusion.
Oh?
Triple fusion.
Since 2 types of fusions, syngamy and triple fusion, take place in an embryo sac, you call it as double fertilization, and this method or this process is unique to flowering plants. This happens only in flowering plants. That is why it is said it is unique to flowering plants. The central cell, Now, what will happen after fertilization? So, syngamy and triple fusion both has taken place. The central cell after triple fusion, you know that triple fusion took place in the central cell where one male gamete fused with two polar nuclei, resulting in the formation of a triploid primary endosperm nucleus. And the central cell, once a fertilization has taken place, it will change into primary endosperm cell because the nucleus present in the central cell is primary endosperm nucleus. So the central cell with PEN or primary endosperm nucleus will change to primary endosperm cell or PEC, and that will develop into endosperm. The function of the endosperm is to nourish the growing embryo, while the zygote developed as a result of syngamy will develop into embryo. Okay, I'll repeat all the points once again. Those who haven't understood, please listen carefully. So we were discussing about a unique process found in flowering plants, and here double fertilization, two fusions are taking place. And you know that when the pollen germinates on the stigma and forms a pollen tube, the contents present in the pollen grain will be transferred to the pollen tube, and the pollen tube will carry it to the ovule. It enters through the micropylar end. You have already learned the entry of the pollen tube is guided by filiform apparatus present in the synergids. So the pollen tube will first, with all the condense in the sense that it carries two male gametes. So this will be the pollen tube will be entering the cytoplasm of the synergids first, because it is a synergid or the filiform apparatus present in the synergid is guiding its entry. So it will first enter the cytoplasm of synergids. From there, from this synergids or from the cytoplasm of the synergids, it will be one male gamete will be moving to the egg cell present at the center of or present in the middle of two synergids. So one male gamete will move towards the egg cell, whereas the other one will move towards the two polar nuclei present at the center of the central cell. One male gamete move towards the egg cell, the other one will move towards the polar nuclei. The one which moves towards the egg cell will fuse with that and forms a zygote. You call the process as syngamy. Whereas the other male gamete will move towards the polar nuclei and fusion takes place and results in the formation of a triploid primary endosperm nucleus. And you call this process as triple fusion because here three haploid nuclei are getting fused. And in the first one, that is syngamy, haploid male gamete fuses with haploid female gamete and forms a diploid zygote. Haploid means unpaired condition of chromosome. Gametes will be having unpaired condition of chromosome. In 10th standard, you have learned why the gametes are made haploid. Because only if the gametes are haploid, upon fertilization, when they form a zygote, the normal chromosome number can be restored. If you take the case of human beings, the sperms and ova will be having just 23 chromosomes. But all the other cells in our body will have 46 chromosomes. So hope you have understood the difference between haploid, diploid, and one more term you learned, triploid. Triploid means 3 sets of chromosomes. Okay, 3 sets of chromosomes will be there. And which cell or which nucleus is in the triploid condition? Primary endosperm nucleus. Why it became triploid? Because it is formed by the fusion of 3 haploid nuclei. One of male gamete and 2 of that polar nuclei. So together 3 haploid nuclei are fusing and that results in the formation of triploid primary endosperm nucleus. And the first fertilization, that is fusion of male and female gametes to form a zygote, you call it as syngamy, same as fertilization. Whereas the second fusion, the second fertilization, where the male gamete is fusing with two polar nuclei, you call it as triple fusion, because 3 haploid nuclei are being fused. Syngamy and triple fusion. Since it involves two fusions, syngamy and triple fusion, in the embryo sac, you call the processes double fertilization. As I told you before, this is unique to flowering plants. And what happens to these structures formed after fusions or after double fertilization? Two structures are formed. One is zygote and the second one is triploid primary endosperm nucleus. Zygote will develop into embryo, whereas the triploid primary endosperm nucleus, that is present, you know, it is present in the central cell. So the cell where this pen or primary endosperm nucleus is present. Now after the formation of pen, you will call the central cell as primary endosperm cell, because it's having pen or primary endosperm nucleus. It will gradually develop into a structure known as endosperm. Endosperm is a structure with food reserves for nourishing the growing embryo. It provides nourishment. Endosperm provides nourishment for the growing embryo. Clear, children? Any point to be repeated? Okay. Now tell me about double fertilization. Donna join now. Vidar, explain double fertilization from the entry of pollen tube into the synergids. From there you can say.
After entering the synergids, the pollen tube releases two male gametes.
Male gametes will be released where? To
the cytoplasm of the
synergids. Okay. Now, Malavika, from there it will go to, what will happen to the male gametes released?
Move towards the egg cell.
Which
and
one?
Fuses. One male gamete.
One male gamete will move towards the egg cell. And then what happens, Gayatri?
It fuses with the egg cell.
Louder.
Fuses with the egg cell.
It will fuse with the egg cell. Then?
And the process known as syngamy.
Results in the formation of?
Zygote.
Zygote. Then what happens to the other male gamete, Sania?
The other male gametes fuses with other two polar nuclei, and
where are those two polar nuclei present?
At the center.
In the central cell, and it will fuse with that and forms?
Triple. This is known as triple fusion, and it results in the formation of pen. Primary.
And what is pen?
Primary endosperm nucleus.
What is its ploidy? Means number of chromosomes, sets of chromosomes present? Pen is what type of structure in terms of the number of chromosomes? Ploidy of pen. Diploid, haploid, triploid. Which among these?
Triploid.
Triploid. Why, Anna, it's a triploid structure? Why pen is a triploid structure?
It involves fusion of 3 haploid nuclei.
Belonging to? How these 3 haploid nuclei came together? They belong to, these nuclei belong to? You said 3 haploid nuclei. Tell me their origin, from where they have come, these 3 nuclei. One is of male gamete. The other 2 nuclei of?
Triple fusion. Ma'am, I didn't understand.
You explain triple fusion then. What is triple fusion?
one male gamete move towards the nuclei in the central cell of and fuses them to produce.
Wait. One male gamete will move towards the central cell. Which nuclei present? What do you call those two nuclei present in the central? So one male gamete will move towards the polar nuclei present at the center of the central cell. Then?
And fuses to produce primary endosperm nucleus.
Primary endosperm nucleus. Any adjective to be added over there? Primary endosperm nucleus. What is its ploidy? It's a triploid structure. My question was why it became triploid.
It involves two.
You told me the answer. It involves a fusion of 3 haploid nuclei. Now my question is 3 haploid nuclei. Which are the cells involved in contributing this nuclei? You told all the
two polar nuclei
and one
male gamete.
Male gamete. That only I asked you. Okay, one male gamete and 2 polar nuclei. So 3 haploid nuclei. The nuclei of these 3 are being fused. That is why it becomes a triploid structure, and you call the process as triple fusion. And why do you call it as double fertilization? Why the fertilization taking place in angiosperms is known as double fertilization? Nia?
Since 2 types of fusion take place in an embryo cell.
Which are those 2 fusions? If you simply say 2 types of fusion, answer is incomplete. The question is for 2 marks. Which are the 2 fusions, Nia? Syngamy and?
Triple fusion.
Triple fusion. 2 fusions are involved. Syngamy and triple fusion. So since 2 fusions are involved, you call it as double fertilization. And what happens to the zygote and pen formed as a result of double fertilization? Donna, what happens to the zygote later?
The zygote will develop into an embryo.
Embryo. And pen?
Develops into primary endosperm cell.
The central cell where pen is present becomes PEC, primary endosperm cell. And it will change into, it will develop into?
Endosperm.
Endosperm. What is the duty or what is the function performed by endosperm?
Zygote develops into the embryo.
That is the first one. What happens to zygote? You said zygote develops into embryo. And my question was, just now what I asked is, what is the function? What is the role of endosperm? You told zygote develops into embryo. Primary endosperm cell will develop into endosperm. But what is the function performed by endosperm?
Helps in the growth of the embryo.
How do they help in the growth? Specifically tell me the role. Definitely they help in the growth, but how the growth is brought about? It will provide what? Who can say, Punya? Yes?
Nourishment.
It provides nourishment. It contains food reserves, food storage. So with the help of that, it will nourish the growing embryo. Any doubt? I think still some of you are not very much thorough. I thought you had already learned it in class 10. So you might be knowing in the printed notes of class 10 also, I think these points are mentioned. You want me to clarify it again, once again to be repeated? A quick recap? Yes or no? Yes or no? You want me to repeat again or no?
Yes.
Yes. Once the pollen tube enters the cytoplasm of the synergids, what happens? It will transfer this male gametes into different direction, to different locations. One male gamete will Move towards egg cell. One male, two male gametes are there in each pollen. It reaches the cytoplasm of synergids. From there, one male gamete will move towards the egg cell, fuses with it, and forms zygote. What do you call the process? Syngamy. The other male gamete, it will move towards the two polar nuclei present at the center of the cell or present in the central cell and forms. Upon fusion, it forms a triploid primary endosperm nucleus. And this process you call as triple fusion because three haploid nuclei are getting fused. One nuclei of the male gamete, two nuclei of the polar nuclei. So together, three haploid nuclei are getting fused and you get a triploid primary endosperm nucleus. And you know that primary endosperm nucleus is present in the central cell. Once the primary endosperm nucleus has been formed, you will call that central cell as primary endosperm cell. And this primary endosperm cell with pen, with primary endosperm nucleus, will develop into endosperm. And endosperm nourishes the growing embryo. It's a zygote which forms the embryo, and the nourishment of the growing embryo is provided by the endosperm. And here, two fusions are involved. One is syngamy, leading to the formation of a zygote. Triple fusion resulting in the formation of pen. So since two fusions are involved, you call the processes double fertilization. Clear?
Yes.
Is it clear? Mehek? Is that clear, Mehek? Okay. So we'll wind up. Any doubts means let me know. Thank you, children, and do revise this and come within one more day. We can complete the chapter and you will have a test paper soon. So within next week, not next week, this week itself, you will have a test paper. So whatever topics are covered, be thorough, be prepared, because you will get a short time notice for the test paper. So the day we are finishing the chapter, the next day, if we have a class, you will have to write the test. So be prepared and okay, take care. Bye.